Yeah. You ain't going nowhere.
I got you for 3 minutes.
Welcome in, everybody.
Oh, every dang time.
Welcome into the podcast,
Were
everybody.
you doing like the Macho
The
Man
bone
and
saw?
Spider Man thing?
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say that's what it reminded me of.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
Absolutely, we were.
I could we tell you why we were doing it? No, I've already forgot.
That's a flavor.
Did
All
you
right.
say that's a flavor?
Monster Energy Ultra Red, White, and Blue Raz. Not sponsored.
Well, I'm drinking Flavor
Don't you
Town
feel
by.
patriotic?
Just a new flavor. I had to try it. 0 sugar.
We all sound fine.
I really like the strawberry and cream zero.
I'm not
I
really
think my
drinking
three
Flavor
favorites
Town.
are the lime green, whatever that one is, the blue Hawaiian, and probably
So
like
the lime
the
green
purple.
is cucumber and kiwi.
Never would.
Cucumber.
Well,
Cucumber
you just
and kiwi.
shattered
Yeah.
my worldview, because I hate cucumbers.
You actually don't taste the cucumber.
No, it's one of my favorite flavors. The blue Hawaiian's really good, and then I like the I guess the grape, whatever the purple one is.
Oh yeah.
What are we talking about again? I don't even know.
Monster
Oh, and the
energy drink.
and the kind of like the
Not
tealish
sponsored.
one with like the pink top on it. I like that one too.
Tealish one.
I never got into Monster.
Like a
Oh,
sea
I think
foam
that was like a
green.
mango one.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I need to stop drinking these, but man, that's
Yeah,
what gives me
boy.
the energy to get through.
Didn't I used to work at Coke?
Do either of you drink coffee?
No, I
Only the coffee that my wife makes.
My wife.
My wife.
Uh,
She'll make
We're
us
2 minutes
coffee
in.
every once in a while. She's really into it.
Yeah, I'm not a coffee.
Makes
boy.
a good old cup of coffee.
Emily's intention is to get me to like coffee because she got me to enjoy sweet tea and she got me to enjoy wine, and now she said that's next on the list. So
Yeah, we'll move you up to a good whiskey or bourbon too.
You've
had a couple that you.
That's true. I don't want to voluntarily have heartburn. That's the problem. So,
Anyway,
anywho, hello, everybody.
how
Yes,
has everybody's week been?
we are.
We are late.
I'm here. We're late tonight. We have had.
A hell of a night.
So first off, welcome in everyone. Episode 26. It is currently 9:45 p.m. On the East Coast. I have had multitudes of issues. The first being, and I've learned this today, my computer has been black screening consistently for the past week. I first noticed it about a week ago on Saturday, actually, probably the next morning after we last did this podcast. I was trying to, watch a movie on Vudu and play World of Warcraft, as I do. I usually watch a good Broken Lizard film and play some World of Warcraft. And I kept getting black screened, and I could not figure out why. And I've looked into it. I ran all kinds of tests. I ran MemTest 86 on my RAM, all kinds of things. It was leading me to think that was my PSU failing, but I took it out and looked at it. It looked fine. Could still be. We haven't fully diagnosed it yet. But then my friend, friend of the channel, T Zombie, is like, hey, check for a Windows update that's causing some issues. And sure enough, there is an update that came out on January 13th that if you have Windows 11 and are using NVIDIA, it is causing all kinds of issues, including random reboots and power spikes and just black screens and all kinds of crap. So I was trying to fix that before the podcast started, and in the process of doing that, I jacked up the audio and I couldn't hear anything from these guys. And then once I got that fixed, we got it in here, and then CollabCam started showing its face again and was crashing. And
We were seeing 8 of Doc and Alden's. And
Man, that was trippy.
I
There
don't
was
know
like
if I
10
ever got
Aldens in a row.
duplicated.
No, it was all
And-
Alden. It was just like.
and my oldest son
It
would
was
not
you
go
too.
to bed when I tried to get him to, and woke up my youngest son. So the whole time I was dealing with this, I was holding a 1-year-old on my lap.
Yeah, buddy.
And
Yeah,
I am exhausted.
not
But
juggling
thank you all
A baby.
for still being here. Also, I do not have my fan on tonight because we diagnosed last week. That's why you have heard a dull hum for the past 25 episodes. So I will probably sweat to death in here tonight, but at least it will sound better. I've got
Open the window.
I've got the thermometer here. We'll keep an eye on it as we go.
Thermometer.
Thermometer.
It's 25% humidity in here right now.
Ooh, that's
25% of the time it works.
Oh, it's low.
Oh, that's
You
higher
should be
than
around- your room should be around 50% humidity. 40 to 50 is a sweet spot. You should. If you have instruments like mine, low
Oh, I
humidity
don't
will
have
break them.
I'm thinking cigar mind in my mind.
I'm thinking I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, humidity
it makes
is this
sense with the
thing when it
instruments.
measures that there is moisture in the air.
Oh, I thought it was for meat because it says meat in the title.
What? No, I actually took this
Thermometer.
thing to work once because when it gets this time of year, every time I stand up from my desk, I get this so much static built up that I have to like discharge my arm on the desk, or because anytime I touch something, it'll just go and it'll zap me. Well,
Yes,
and
the power of
the
lightning.
worst that I ever had was when I worked at the post office, and this will transition us into our topic tonight. When I worked at the post office, we had I worked at the main plant for seasonal, and we had these giant nylon sacks full of small parcels and
Me
mail,
too.
and you had to like.
Sorry.
So we had to like pick the bags up and open them. They had like these. You might have seen these before. It looks like a giant, like Santa Claus bag, but it's like a yellowish mustard colored material, and it has like a really thin leather belt they're zipped up with, and then like a little hoop on it, and you have to basically open those up, and then you have to pour all the packages in. Well, imagine doing like a whole load of laundry and grabbing it all out by hand and dropping it on your bed, but like 10 times worse. The amount of static that would come off your clothes when you would do that. We had to like ingrain ourselves to discharge the static, because even with the gloves on, there was a point when like I went to touch the machinery after dropping it, and I saw it looked like Palpatine. I saw a bolt of lightning like come out of my fingertips and like it hurt. It felt like someone smashed your fingers with a hammer. So
Wow.
I learned years ago that every time I touch anything now, I use my elbow to discharge the static, because you can watch it. Like I'll go to work and I will take my phone and I'll record it in slow motion. You can watch it go, and you'll shoot out of your fingers.
Cool.
But oh man, those bags were the worst.
That reminds me of a story in high school. We had a friend who left on a trip, and it was a church trip, and so he left his car in the parking lot like you normally do. So his car was never locked because the lock was always busted. So we opened the door, hot wired it enough to have a sunroof open. And then we went to the UPS store and bought those large thing of packing peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
And you can buy them by huge packs. And we filled his car full of packing peanuts. And it was so funny to watch him go, "What the fuck happened to my car?"
You don't need airbags anymore. You are safe and sound.
And he was like, "How do I get in?" And I go, "Well, probably the same way we got in, buddy."
There was a period at the first job I ever had was at Hardee's, and there was this girl. I think her name was Katie. I don't remember. I can vaguely see her in my head. And we had another guy that worked there named Cody, and they got into like a personal prank war over and over until it escalated so much. Well, like one night, I think it was Katie. One of them took the other's car, like stole their car and drove it next door to the Family Dollar and just parked it there. And when they went to get their car later, it was gone. And then so like the next night, the other one got revenge, went inside the restaurant and got like a whole brick of cheese and started putting like Kraft singles all over the entire car, windshield and everything, and just left it there in the rain.
Oh my god!
Oh, gross.
And it just kept escalating to the point where it was become, it was animosity at some point. But I still remember one that was really funny. This other girl, she wasn't. I don't know how she got involved. She was not one of the two, but there was an orb weaver, or as a lot of us Southern folks call them, riding spiders. And she was terrified of spiders, and I am too. But I know when they're going to hurt me and when they're not. So, to prank her, I went out and got a sauce cup and caught the spider in it, and then I took it inside and just dropped it in her purse and just left.
Wow.
Oh wow!
Mm-mm.
Oh, I bet she flipped out. Was
Oh,
you
really?
around whenever she?
Oh yeah,
Noticed?
I watched it. I watched it happen.
Oh God.
Oh God, did she have a heart attack?
No, but she demanded that someone get it out of her purse for her.
I had one prank war, and it ended really really badly because um, I I drove a very very common car in high school. It was the Chevy Cavalier. Doc, you remember this one very fondly
Mm-hmm.
because it was the one that I rolled. But
I wasn't in the car at the time, but I remembered
Nope.
smelling your
I was
6-month
by
old
myself.
Taco Bell in the back seat.
Probably, but it was
Yeah.
bad.
He broke my
Anyways.
Subway cherry that day, but I digress.
I forgot they made the Cavalier. Forgot about that car.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so there was another I worked at a doctor's office my last year in high school because it was part of a work study program, and there was another person that drive the Cavalier. So what we would do in high school is car chalking cars, where we would take the car chalk that you write wedding anniversaries and stuff like that, but we would color in the windows so that they would have to clean it off or try to drive
Oh,
with it still
God.
on there. And they marked the wrong car at a doctor's office. And it was a
crap.
staff employee.
Oh no.
She was so pissed.
Ooh, no.
And then I figured out who did it and I told them, and he felt horrible. Absolutely. But
Yikes.
the topic that we're going to talk about is fun work stories.
Yeah, you
From
guys are already
past,
swinging.
If you
and
haven't
we're kind
picked
of
up yet,
swooping into it. But it's just not hating on jobs or not throwing jobs under the water. But hopefully, we're going to explain what jobs we had in the past and kind of transfer that into looking hindsight being 2020. Was it a good job or a bad job?
Yeah,
I
Viper and I were
just
talking about
remembered
that
a good
while
story from work.
Alden was having his midlife crisis with this whole issue with technology. That at the time when we were younger, and in the moment, yeah, some of these jobs are awful.
I knew they were awful at the time.
Well, I mean, like when we were there at the time, we're like, oh God, this sucks. Looking back now, I can absolutely like pinpoint little parts of the jobs that I did enjoy, like every job I've had. And at one
day
point,
I'm gonna hate this.
eventually, it. I don't know. I guess it's part of it just being mature and being older. I turn 37 next week, so I feel really old. But
Ooh, I'm right behind you, buddy.
yeah. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting to kind of look back and go, man, 37-year-old Doc could have handled that better than 20-year-old Doc,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
feel
there
you on
too.
that.
Well, who wants to start and kind of get the ball rolling? Do we want
I've
to hit
got
like and go
so
round robin
many.
with all of us, or do we want to just like streak through, or what
I
are we
have
feeling?
so many to tell, but I'll try to limit it. But if you want to start with Dr. J, you can, because you haven't really gotten to speak yet.
No, it's fine. And if we haven't caught on already, I'm kind of the one that kind of sits back, and if I have something relevant, I'll slide in when I need to. But um, you kept starting off the conversation about pranks.
Mhm.
With my jobs, I can't really drum up any of them that have prank. That's not a word. Prank tendencies to them. I do remember lots of little bits and pieces of stories. And actually, I think I'll start off with a softball, and I can just kind of lob back to one of you guys about one I had just today. And if you all don't already know, I do teach elementary music in a K through 6 school. Um, and for
Your
the 10
wife
years
has
I've
one
been
for
there,
you.
huh?
Your
Oh,
wife has one for you.
my wife. Well, you want to type
Hello.
it or come in here? What do you want to do? While
We
she's
gonna have a
debating,
run in?
well, yeah, we might have a run in. We'll see. While we're going through that, I actually this happened just today, and not really a prank so much, but I in the decade I've been teaching, boy, I could fill a book already with some of the stuff I've endured, the things I've had happen. Um, but one little chuckle out of the job I get. I mean, I work with kids every day, and some of them, I mean, they're funny as crap. They're observant for things that I don't catch. Uh, from that little perspective, looking up at the big, tall, fat guy. Well, tall is a strong word. I was in
Taller
band
than
after
they are.
taller than most of them. There are some radioactive looking sixth graders that are taller than me, but I digress. Today I had band. We're getting to run in, but I'll tell you the band thing real quick. Um, Sixth grade band had practice today after school, and this whole last 2 weeks really have been kind of a ship show, if you know what I mean, because we've had snow days, ice days,
Yeah.
whatever days. So I'm guessing they had a lot of time home to themselves because one of the sixth graders stopped me in the middle of going in between songs, and she goes, "You know, I saw you on the graduation ceremony from last year because we're prepping for a sixth grade graduation." She goes, "You would not stop playing with your Superman suspenders," and it kept bothering me the whole entire time because you would sit there and go psh, 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 and you were playing with them the whole time. And I thought, oh God, that's on public television in our area. So not only
Oh
is it
wow.
there, she was able to go back and on YouTube, I'm assuming, and just various moments of the ceremony. You just see me in the background like that idiot from over there where Art Thou snapping his suspenders. Um, and I even made it worse. I said, my mom has a VHS tape of me in one of my very first elementary school programs where I had a speaking part doing the same damn thing. So, from a 5-year-old doc to a nearly 37-year-old doc, not much changes except the waistline. Do we have a run in, or are you just hanging?
I can tell you a story.
Okay.
My prank story. There's only one, so.
Okay. I have no idea of the context of this, so you're getting a bonus thing, and then I'll wiffle ball it all to you. So
Bye-bye.
here is Emily.
Bye-bye.
So I worked at a bank, and me and one of my coworkers were pretty close. And he went on vacation, and so to mess with him when he was on vacation, I printed off a bunch of unicorns and hid them everywhere in his desk.
Oh yeah.
And he was still finding them. Like, I don't know, like a year later, he still found like a random one. So
I forgot
That's
about
so funny.
that. Shout out to Ben. Yeah, Ben's good dude. Actually, on a on a related note, a mutual friend of ours that we're trying to get on the pod, Carol.
Carl.
Emily worked with Carol at Lance Cunningham, and what is it that you all kept doing? Kept leaving like obscene book label quotes. Okay. Well, as we're wiffle balling it over to either Viper or Alden, Carol and Emily had this little trade war where they were taking a label maker and like labeling stupid things all over each other's like books and things in their offices. She's going to dig in, but I'm gonna yeet it over to one of you gentlemen. What you got?
Alden, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. I have at least 3 off the top of my head right now, so I'll start with I guess technically it was the most recent, but it was still probably 10 years ago. When I was in grad school, I actually had 2 jobs. I was working at Pizza Plus, as we have talked about on here before, but I also worked at a place that no longer exists. It was called the IGA Food Liner. So if you don't know what an IGA is, it's like a mom and pop grocery store. It stands for International Grocers Association.
That's the A. I couldn't remember.
But it was like this tiny little mom and pop grocery store. But I worked there kind of like 2 different periods. I worked there. The first time I worked there, I was like doing stock and cashier, and the second time I was just pure cashier. But I was working there probably around, I think it was the summer of 16, and After work one day, a bunch of us decided we were going to go into the stock room and just destroy produce for whatever reason. And I have this video of one of the guys working there just punning a cauliflower and exploding all over the entire stock room. And for whatever reason, we didn't clean it up. And the owner, not the manager, the owner of the store was like this 80-year-old man who looked like Matlock. And he lost his mind the next day when he came in and saw cauliflower and lettuce and stuff just spread everywhere.
Oh, I would have
And
been
we
pissed
got
too,
in
honestly.
so much crap for that. So then the next day we took the lettuce outside with a baseball bat and did it out in the back field behind the building. And I still have a video of me hitting a baseball bat when I was like 200 pounds. And God, I miss those days.
Emily's got to run in real quick.
Okay, here we go.
Do it.
So our friend Carol, we worked at a car dealership.
We already said Lance Cunningham, so fuck it.
And I don't do this anymore
That's
anyway.
2
Yeah,
F-bombs already in one episode.
She was off.
I'm
I
just
don't
going to
know,
insert the
doing
bleep
something.
sound and post
And I
just
went
on
to her
everything.
desk and messed up her desk. Just put everything in the wrong place. And then we started a war where she had just gotten back into reading, and she had started shortly with A Court of Thorn and Roses. And so we had a label maker. I don't know why we had a label maker, but we had a label maker. And so we would write random quotes on the label maker and leave them in hidden places in our desks.
Now I'm going to read it for
Yeah.
the folks at home.
So this one says, "Your mother's a fragging aardvark, ignorant piece of tanlin, and amaranth is whore." So I keep these.
We dropped some F-bombs and we said the word whore.
we would leave
We
them
are
everywhere for each
raunchy.
other.
Raunchy.
I need a label maker.
I have a label maker. It makes a little way out of it.
Oh, well, I'm used to little things.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. Bye. I love you. All right. Viper, hit it, and then I'll give you another one.
All right, so you guys want a funny story, or you guys want a destructive story?
Give me what you got. We're
All right,
lighthearted
we'll,
here.
We'll do
be
the
lighthearted.
funny story. So, because this happened when me and Doc were in college together. So, I was a server / bartender, or whatever, at an establishment that was right off campus, more towards the highway. It was still in a different town, but
Diamond Wednesday.
yes, Diamond Wednesday, and it was right next to a really
Emerald
big
Fridays.
truck stop. Emerald Fridays. That's another one that I can tell. Anyways, what was I going? Okay, so it's right next to a big truck stop. So truckers would normally walk from their truck up to our establishment and have dinner or whatever while they're trying to sleep. And you know the obvious trucker, t-shirt, maybe a flannel if it was cold, blue jeans, boots, and the parrot headset.
Oh, I thought you
one of
meant a literal bear.
them. No, the parrot headset.
I was like,
And they would be talking on it the entire time.
It's a pirate.
So you know exactly what they look like when they came
sure.
in. So this one guy came in and he sat at the bar, and we didn't think anything about it, but he had like one beer. So we're just like, okay, whatever. And so he was talking on his headset the whole time. He ordered food and everything, and then he got tired, I guess, and fell asleep at the bar. And then his food came, and he ordered ribs, and his food came, and the bartender was like, he's asleep. Like, and he was not budging at all. So, and she was like, what do I do? And I was like, put it right next to him, I guess. And then his phone went off, and it was probably it was a grandma ring. Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
the loudest ring that I've ever heard. It went through the entire restaurant. And he woke up, and then he grabbed the ribs, put it up to his ear, and was like, hello. And she was, making making a drink, and she stopped making the drink, and her jaw was literally on the ground. She's like, he just answered his ribs. The end of the story did not end well because we did have to call the police, and they did have to escort him because he was on some other substances. But
man, dang it.
but
Okay.
we thought
Well, I'll
that
just
was
forget
so
that last
funny
part.
that he just picked up his ribs like it was a cell phone and just answered them.
phone with his ribs.
So, Doc, back to you.
Okay. Well, okay. Talking about my most recent job and my inability to not know what to do with my hands, a la Ricky Bobby. We'll backtrack to my first job, where I worked at the very small Burger Square
Crystals.
restaurant. Yes, Ruby Tuesday. Anyway, yeah, I worked at Crystal. That was my first gig in high school. I had it from just about my whole senior year up until my freshman year in college, when I was like, I can't do this anymore. Just because it was hard juggling job and full-time school.
Oh, I know.
Which we all get it, and then of course that lasted 6 months before one of my other jobs I might hit up. But and the Crystal that we had, it was a drive-through only, so we didn't have to worry about customers coming in and setting and doing all that stuff. I mean, I'll hit the cliff notes of my adventure at Crystal. I was my uncle at the time. Was friends with one of the owners, and the rest of several members of the store were under the impression that I was a narc because my uncle was a police officer. So that went well. Without going into much detail that statute of limitations cannot get me on. But that also had teenage Matt getting to meet people that he didn't necessarily go to school with, and including several cute emo chicks, and that's another story for another day too. But made lots of friends there. Actually, it was a really fun place. But yeah, that's where Doc gets his emo chick love from. Anyway, the one I remember in particular in college, we had let's see, we had just had a marching band practice. Oh, I got flashed one time. That was fun. But anyway, one of the workers, I got flashed one time, but it was like with clothing on. It was like, but I had a crush on that girl. Anyway, I'm married with a child. Anyway, came from a full day of school. I got warned that, hey, there was someone from like the main Crystal Land, whatever. They were coming and doing inspections or whatever, right? So they said, hey, Doc, you might want to keep an eye out because they're here. They're still here. I was like, oh, okay. And other side funny trick, I always had to use a credit card to get in because all the banging on the back door in the world couldn't get anybody to unlock the door for me. So that's how I learned how to pick locks with a plastic card. But anyway, I got there and luckily didn't have to do it that day. But immediately from the moment I got in the door, that person who was, doing the whatever it's called, was up my butt about everything. Did not, I mean, if I stopped quick enough, they would have gone up my booty. Watching me, asking questions about the protocol for this and that and the other. And I'll toot my own horn here. But when I would work, I would do it the right way and not the half-assed way. And I didn't trust a whole lot of people making my food there. So,
yeah, no, I get it.
Mm-hmm. So in the middle of doing something, I forget what it was, but I don't know, they were hot and heavy on me, and I turned around at one point and I took my hat off and I looked at them and I said, "Look," and I don't remember obviously verbatim what I said because that was nearly 20 years ago, but I tore into their ass and I said, "I know what I'm doing. Get out of my way. Let me do a job." And they left about half an hour later. And then my boss came up to me and said, she read the notes and like, one employee was observed being hostile, but and like like wrote a novel about me, and they're like, and my boss was like, "Don't worry about it, but quit being so grumpy." I was like, "Fine."
Fine.
But yeah, I was very tightly wound, and not long after that, I think I finally said, "I'm done and I'm out of here." But that always kind of stuck out in my head. One of my big memories of, man, I was not having it that day. So
I will piggyback off of that. So, the first job I ever had, as I mentioned earlier, was Hardee's. And I started there in 2009. Like, I remember starting there like the week after Michael Jackson died. I still remember being working in the kitchen when I heard about that.
Yeah.
To give you an idea of how long ago that was, June of 2009 is when I started. In July, I moved to the front. So I had this tendency in some of my old jobs where I would work at them for like a long time, and then I would leave, and then I would come back and work just a fraction of the time that I worked there, because I was like, oh yeah, I remember how I left. And Hardee's was one of them. So I worked there all the way through the second half of undergrad when I knew these guys. I was working there through undergrad, and then I left, I think in 2011. And then that summer I was without a job, and then in 2012 I came back, and I actually worked with a friend, a mutual. You went to her wedding recently. We worked there together at one point. Well, I was on the drive-through, and if you're familiar with the podcast, you've been here, you know the milkshake story. If not, go back and find it. It's on here somewhere. It's worth listening to. It's one of the most unhinged things I've ever heard in my life. But it is only one of two of the most unhinged moments I had in the drive-thru. And the other one is what directly made me quit my job. And I actually did quit my job over the story. I did put in a 2 weeks notice, so I didn't just walk out, but I did put in my notice that moment. So one day, this is when I came back to that job after I'd taken 3 months off of the job. Let me remind you, I worked there for 3 years. This was right after minimum wage increased, which was $7.25. By the way, hasn't increased in 17 years almost. $7.25. In the entire 3 years I had been there, I got one raise to $7.40 an hour, 15 cents in 3 years. When I left, I told my boss, I want to stay on the payroll. I'm going to go to college. I will come back at some point in the fall. In the 3 months that I was on summer, when I wasn't going, or on the so many months I was in college that I wasn't there, she got fired by corporate, and a new guy took over who was a manager at another restaurant in town. When he came in, he saw my name, didn't know who I was, fired me because he didn't know the name on the payroll. Then he got fired for stealing money, and then the old assistant manager became the new manager. So when I came back, I was told, well, you don't actually work here anymore. We have to rehire you, and you're going back down to a standard salary. We're already on solid footing at this job. So I hated the drive-thru from the first moment that I touched a headset back in 2009. But I'm working drive-thru almost consistently. This is 2012 when this happens. I am in the drive-thru, and a guy comes through and orders a milkshake.
Oh, no.
And I make the milkshake. I give him the milkshake. He was mad because I put whipped cream on it. What's the pattern here? Well, this time I wasn't dumbfounded. He was yelling at me. He was mad at me for putting it on there. And I said, I'll fix it. And he goes, no, don't bother with it. Just do it right next time. And like he just slams the window and drives off. And this is the point where I devolved. I have a diagram. I drew one a moment ago. This is important, okay? So this right here is the drive-thru window. This is the register. This is hard to do backwards. Yeah. Here is the fry vat. Good Lord, this is hard to do backwards. And here is the fry cooler. This is where we keep the fries. And this is the prep line where we cook on both sides. Here's the manager's office. That part's going to be important in a minute. And here is the front line where the counter is. So I walk away from this register. I I take a deep breath. I open the door to the fry cooler, which again is directly in line of sight with the manager's office. That night was a woman working. She was a shift leader. She was a very calm woman. And I opened the door, and I want to stress to you, I'm not a violent person. I've never been in a fight in my entire life. But I've had moments where I do black out, and I lose all composure. I took a deep breath, and I opened the fry door. Did you guys ever see the episode of Family Guy where they made the parody of the show 8 is Enough, and it's the dad just like constantly slapping his daughter in the face, and they're like, stop, stop. That's what happened. I opened the fry door, and I just started hitting it repeatedly, and she just makes eye contact. She goes, stop, what's happening, stop. And she's screaming at me, and I just keep punching it, and then I slam it shut, and I go, I quit. And I put him 2 weeks notice. And 2 weeks later, I was gone.
Wow.
I didn't get fired, but I said that was enough. I had had enough verbal abuse. 4 years of that. 4 years of watching people pass out on drugs in the drive-through window and throw chicken sandwiches at the shift leaders because they had mayonnaise on their order, and people, stealing 50 straws so they could go out and do drugs in the parking lot. I was, putting sauce cups in the toilet tanks, and I was just like, I'm done with it. I hate this place. I hate this place so much.
Man, I would say fast food is probably one of the hardest jobs.
It is the worst thing.
That or retail.
You can get away with retail, though.
Eventually, yes, if you can stomach it. But at first glance, it is a lot.
Yes. Retail is probably harder on the front half of it, but I would say fast food, it digs at you hard.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in both of them. I've worked for Burger King, Cookout, and then I've also worked for Staples and Kohl's and GameStop. And I only worked 2 days at GameStop.
I was about to say, I don't remember that.
I know, because I only worked 2 days at GameStop.
I
They didn't remember it either, trust me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stress this. If you've never worked in fast food, there's a feeling that you'll never have anywhere else in your life. And I'm not trying to, be hyperbolic with this. And people who work at McDonald's, they probably experience this all the time because McDonald's is a bigger restaurant. I worked at Hardee's in a town that had a population of less than 5,000 people. We didn't have a lot of people that worked there. We had small shifts. On night shift, we had 6 people working, including the supervisor. We lived in a town that, before I started there, had a high school. Here's the restaurant. Here's the high school. Once I started there, I had already graduated high school, and that was the first year they opened this new school, which is on the other side, all the way up here. The problem was, any time that a school from this side came past the restaurant, they would inevitably stop back and eat there. There is not a worse feeling in the world, it being a Friday night at 8:30 or 9 o'clock when we close at 11, and you were standing here, and there's the restaurant, and over here off camera is the front door, and you see it open, and you see a line of 100 kids come in out the door. It's nightmare. I used to have nightmares about that job, because not only are they unruly and they don't know what they want, they're screaming the entire time. They have to be complicated, because it's never like okay, we're going to go in here and eat, but you guys have to get 3 chicken tenders. It's like, hey, go in there and set the place on fire if you want to. Take a crap on the walls. Just do whatever you want to. Just remember, we got to be back on the bus by 10:30. And, oh my God.
It sucks.
I hated it so much. Fast food was the worst thing I ever did in my life. I don't, like I said, I don't want to sound dramatic. I am 34, almost 35. I have not worked in fast food since 2016, and that was a good fast food job. That was Pizza Plus, and I love that job. That was like my second favorite job ever. I haven't worked at Hardee's since 2012. I still have a recurring dream that I had to pick up a second job at Hardee's, and I wake up every night like, oh, thank God that isn't real. I hated it so much.
I'll admit I grew up a lot during my food service run. I had another food service which was the polar opposite of Crystal, but if we have more time, we'll hop into others. But you were talking about getting things thrown at you, having 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 it just be a drive-through. We got a lot of the crap out of the way. But with it being small town stuff like you mentioned, Alden, I remember one of the uh, ladies up front who ran a cash register was having a tiff with a boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, and at one point he had thrown her cat through the window
Oh
over
God.
the drive-through and said something, and you can probably guess what he had referred to on her
Yeah.
anatomy, but something
No.
about that being the cat. I don't know, whatever. So there's a cat
Wow.
running randomly around in the front of the store, and actually, this same girl, at one point we she was eating while on the clock, which she's working and not cross contaminant, whatever. She had a slice of pizza that she put in one of those little like
Speaking of cats,
container, yeah, one of those little containers where they put like the little hot dogs or the chili fries or whatever in.
Yeah.
So she kept it separate from the other stuff, and whatever. She filled an order and went back to. I guess she had her food up at the front, or whatever. But that's where the story comes in. It turns out she gave a half-eaten slice of pizza out the door instead of some of the meal that she had. Because like 2 minutes later, someone comes up and it's like opens the clamshell and there's a half-eaten slice of pizza, and they're like, "Where's my food?" So stuff like that was always kind of peanutty, buddy. Um, Coming to Crystal, we also had some moments, and you had mentioned Hardee's again, and then I thought I had some friends, and there was a friend of mine that was in the chat either last week or 2 weeks ago, who worked at the Hardee's at the time, where they would call me on my cell phone or call each other's offices, and they would trade food. They'd make up X amount of sandwiches or whatever, and we'd go drive down the street and trade, which in retrospect I guess was stealing because we didn't pay for any of it. But and we would do the same thing with the Sonic, which was next door too. They'd send somebody over and they'd be like, "All right, write down what you want," and then they would trade food. Never at once in my teenage mind was I thinking this is very probably not good.
yeah.
But I mean, I was used to getting free food from there all the time because if they, you know, they'd pitch it or they'd do whatever, and I'm like, don't let it go to waste. My dogs ate good when I worked at Crystal because they would get like steamer packs full of crystals, and I don't know, like I had mentioned with Viper, it's kind of nice to look back on and think some of that stuff did suck, but there's a lot of it that was fun.
I did have good moments at that job. But we'll let Viper go first before I go anymore. I've got so many more Hardy stories. But
Um, I don't know. There's so many bad stories that I don't want to tell.
Yeah.
But one job that I really, really enjoyed was when I was working a summer kids program. And Alden, you said something that just triggered my memory banks, and it was the summer that Michael Jackson died.
What is up with
Um,
2009?
I don't know. It was
Origin.
it was one of my favorite jobs because um literally my boss was one of my best friends from I don't even know how long we've been friends. She was the director and I was the assistant director.
This wasn't
Um,
Wesley Woods, was it?
no, this was
I forgot about that place.
the YWCA
I don't
summer
recall.
kids program.
Did you work that with Christina?
Mm-mm. No, it was a friend from like way back before.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and I mean, we would have so much fun. There, the kids were anywhere from ages 5 to 12, so we have a large variety of kids. Some of the older kids would actually help out because we only had two, three, four, 5 people, uh, and we would have 30 or 40 kids. Which during a summer kids program, that's hectic.
Mm-hmm.
But we would
Preach.
go on fun trips and things like that, and it was just a super fun time. That was probably one of my favorite jobs. Now, my least favorite jobs, I've been a truck driver. I hated that job. Um,
Mm.
had a lot of anxiety going back to it after Coke. So I was over the road because I had leased over the road for 7 months for them to pay for half my school, and then I decided to drive local for Coke, and then I thought I was gonna drive local, but not deliver, and it just ended up being crap.
Yeah.
So that built up a whole lot of anxiety and problems and stuff like that. But
Mm.
then the pandemic happened, and I started delivering beer, which I enjoyed that one a whole lot. But uh, every job has problems, even
Yeah.
though you know there's a lot of good in some jobs, but y- everybody has a breaking point of what they can handle, and that
Sure.
was what ended me there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had a lot of different jobs, and I haven't had a job working with the public in,
Yeah.
oh wow, a long time. And I don't know if I could go back to that. Um, I do remember, and this is um, the destructive one that I was talking about earlier. Is
Mm.
um, I was working at Staples, and they would people would bring in their computers, and they would bring in the monitor, the CPU, everything, and just drop it off to us for recycle. Well, we can't recycle the actual screens, so we would just keep those in the back. And then whenever we would get pissed or mad or whatever, and just frustrated,
I know where this is going.
we would take sledgehammers and we would bust the screens out of them.
Beautiful.
It was like our own rage room, and this
Oh
was
God.
before rage rooms were even thought about. And
That's what'll get Staples out of bankruptcy. Just open up a rage room in the back.
but he was the one that I know. What was it last week that you had to like blow out your computer and you had air and you were blowing it in your hair? Alden?
Oh yeah, Alden.
Was it
What?
last week or the week before?
I think it was last week.
Yeah. And
He was talking about how
You
his,
blew out your
update
hair?
on this crap. I figured out that's why my skin tasted like metal, is because there's a bitterant in this crap, and it was getting in the air and touching my skin. Because I'm an idiot.
We would turn it upside down and spray it on a piece of paper and freeze the paper and then shatter the paper.
ooh,
Oh, that's cool.
I
I
want to
didn't
do
think
that
you could
right
do that.
now.
Yeah, I
What
don't
does
want
It
this
does
paper
use
taste
a
like
lot.
frozen?
I don't know. I've never tasted paper.
Mm.
Don't taste it.
Have
It
you
tastes
tasted
really bad.
paper?
It tastes
No,
like bitter
I thought you
paper.
meant the bitterant
Oh,
stuff.
I was like, okay.
Which I felt really bad too, because I was jokingly, I didn't realize it had like, I thought it was just compressed air. I didn't realize it had, I mean, obviously it had to have some kind of aerosol or it wouldn't be under pressure. But I was like spraying my kid in the head with it, and I was like, oh man, I was spraying chemicals on him.
Child
Don't call
abuse on
CPS on me.
camera.
I mean, I quit immediately. I quit.
I learned my lesson.
But
It doesn't say on the can, "Do not spray your kids with this."
It does
Well,
say
now because of
though,
Alden,
please use responsibly. This has a bittering agent and discourage inhalant abuse. Warning: contains 1:1 dichloroethane. May explode. Contact with the skin may cause frostbite. There's a lot of
see now
warnings.
because of you, there's a label for everything.
Do not
That
use.
reminded me of
kids.
high school band. One of the running jokes my band director, who is a percussionist, would say, uh, uh, "There's a reason why the drumsticks say for external use only." So
Do they?
I don't know. My band director,
I want to see this
was a
label. I don't
drinking
think
man,
Vic
wasn't he?
Firth is
he
putting
was.
that on
He
their
was
two
a-
B's.
boy, watching him in high school.
He was a drinking man, wasn't he?
Well, I never caught him drinking in high school, and I don't think he would have, the chutzpah to do that during the school day. But I do remember him lighting up cigars every single morning when we'd be outside marching. Especially, I remember
my
like
kinda
one
guy.
cold- yeah, we'd be doing a company front to warm up and stuff, and you'd see that plume of smoke come from the thing. And I'm like, oh, there he goes again. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, good times.
Well,
Okay.
to round off the whole Hardee's thing, I have 3 more stories. One of them is fun, one of them is funny, and one's nostalgic. So, to double back on, as much as I said I hated this job, there were some actually pretty decent moments. And one of them was, I think it was the summer of 2011, probably. Um, our job was right across. It was like in the middle of town, so there was some residential area. Like, there was just literally houses right across the street from on the main highway where we worked. Well, one day there was this massive storm, like one of the worst thunderstorms I've ever seen in my life. Like, I would have been convinced that a tornado had touched down in town somewhere. It started like right around the time our shift started. We worked 3 to 11. This storm came and like ripped a tree in half across the street, blew out power lines, destroyed everything that were on there, the roof of the building and the parking lot. It's horrible. The storm was over pretty fast. I mean, it was done by 4 o'clock, but the problem is it had destroyed like the power lines and knocked all of our power out. And our policy was, when the power goes out, lock the doors. No one can come in. Because it's a safety issue. You have no, electricity or anything. Customers can't come in. Stores closed.
Yep.
But employees stay there until the power comes back on, because, if we can fix it, you guys are going to work. Power never came back on that day. So we stayed there from 3 to 11 with no power. And I really want to stress how much this, in hindsight, this felt like the Breakfast Club. We were in there all evening, and we went from all different emotions to, this is interesting, to, okay, this is boring, to desperation, to, dear God, help us. Because we were still expected to get the restaurant ready for the next shift. But the problem is, the way the job worked is 3 p.m. was the second shift. So the early shift cleaned up everything before the 3 p.m. shift started, and then the 3 p.m. shift started and cleaned everything up at 11, so they'd have it ready for morning shift. We had just started, so there was nothing to do. There was nothing to clean. We had like some dishes to do, but like we had like no power to do anything else with. We couldn't cook, so we swept and mopped and we were done. So we're just sitting there. So we just decided to just have fun with it. Half of them went outside in the parking lot and smoked. Some of us went and got flashlights and sat in the cooler just to stay warm. Because, also, this was July, by the way. So
God,
it was
no.
stupid hot. So we just had to find a way to entertain ourselves. And one of the things I remember the most was like the restaurant being like pitch black, and except for like the little bit of sunlight coming in. So in the back of the restaurant was a stock room where we kept all the the dry storage, like cups and stuff like that. And there was one girl that worked there. She was walking to the restaurant, and I was hiding on the shelves. And when she went by, I grabbed her ankles. And so she turned around and poured her entire drink on my head. It was like a pet.
wow.
There was like a Coke or something all over me. So then I jump up and I go over to the sink, and I shove my whole head in the sink water. I was like, hey, this is actually a pretty good way to cool off. So that was a fun night.
That sounded like fun.
Another good memory I had from there was one year it snowed really hard, and this was probably my first December there. I know it had to have been, because I remember going to work that night and I could not make it because of the snow. And the guy I worked with, his dad took him, and he was living near my grandma at the time. My grandma lived like just 2 miles down the road on the main highway, and I was staying with her, but I couldn't drive because I used to drive a 99 Taurus. And so he took me to work that night, and like no one came in because of how much snow it was. But I do remember that they came and plowed our parking lot, but they moved all the snow to one giant embankment, so it was like a 15-foot tall embankment, like as tall as the restaurant in the back corner of the parking lot. But no one was coming in that night, so we just sat there. I went outside. I made snow cream because we had all the stuff there to make it. I was like, hey, you guys, I used a vanilla milkshake syrup and sugar from the back from the coffee, and we tried it, and everyone liked it. We just hung out. But I don't know why, I just remember that night leaving and going home and sitting in my grandma's living room. My grandma had this old like 1960s house that didn't have central heating or air or anything. And she had like one of these giant coil heaters. And that was like all the heating in her living room was that one heater. And I remember sitting right beside it on her couch playing on my old Emerson CRT TV, and I was playing the first Assassin's Creed, Condemned Criminal Origins. If you ever played that game, that was a good one.
Go ahead.
Okay, and there was another game. It was this ATV game called Pure. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah, I remember that one.
I don't know. I love that. I would play that game while using the Xbox's built-in MP3 feature, where you could play the music through while you were playing the games. And I was playing the Sick Puppies Tripolar album while playing Pure, and I just remember that was such a good memory of that snowy night. It's like one of the nights that I look back on that job and didn't hate it because it was a calm night. Snow always makes me happy. But my favorite story, and I don't know if I've told this one on here. I really hope I haven't, because it is absolutely one of my favorite stories to tell. I actually think, to me, it's funnier than the milkshake story. But it's a very visual thing, so if you weren't there, you might not relate to it. But first off, have you ever seen Breaking Bad?
I know of it. And
I saw the finale.
Oh, dang it. Okay. Well, anyone watching who has seen Breaking Bad, the show wasn't even out yet at the time, so I had no frame of reference in mind. But there's a scene, I think it's like one of the very first episodes, where Jesse is trying to dissolve a body in a bathtub, and the whole floor it eats through and collapses the floor, and the whole floor just falls out.
God.
Keep that in mind. So,
is this how we found out Alden killed a guy at Hardee's?
So when I worked at Hardee's, my first month there was in the back. Like, literally, I walked in the first day, did the training manual, and then they put me on fry vat duty. And the way fry vats worked were, we had 3 vats, and we had this giant metal thing called the circulator. And what it was is it looked like a giant cooking pan with a motor on top. And what it did was, you would go up to the fry vat, and there had a spigot on the bottom, and you would open it, and it would drain all the oil into the circulator. And we had a thing where the first one was your primary vat, and the second 2 were the secondary vats. And what you do is you'd empty all of the first one into a giant pan, and you'd clean it out, and you'd put brand new oil into it. And then the second and third ones, you would put those into the circulator, and it had like this kind of powder. It almost looked like cornmeal, and you would circulate it, and it would get all the impurities out of it, like all the fry crumbs and stuff that burn at the bottom, and then you would put it back in, so it was cleaner oil. It wasn't perfectly clean. It wasn't new, but it kept it, for a few more days. Anyway, so the pan that we had to take out looked like a comically oversized cooking pot. It was like this tall and this wide, and it was massive. It had 2 little handles on it, but the handles weren't insulated at all. Pure metal. The entire thing was metal. So you had to wear these gigantic gloves that went down to your arms. You literally look like the hazmat people from Monsters Inc. when you wore them. That's what your arms were.
2019.
They were so dirty that you could probably light them on fire. How much grease was caked into them.
Jeez.
So the way we were there's so many ways that we could have done this better. The pan that we emptied the grease in had a crack in the bottom of it, so it was constantly leaking out oil when you put it in there. Our method of taking it out, because it was so heavy, it literally, if you put the amount of oil into the vat as you were supposed to, by the time you got it up, put it in the pan to take it out, there was this much room from spilling out the top. So basically what you had to do was, you had to pour the entire pan full on the ground in front of the spigot, then pull a trash can over, a wheeled trash can, put a lid on the trash can, pick up the pan on top of the trash can, and put another lid on it, and push it out like a cake pan, and you had to push it all the way across the parking lot to the vat disposal, and then you had to flip it over like this into the thing. And only some people that worked there couldn't do it, because half of our staff were like, teenage girls. They couldn't pick it up. No, I'm not saying no offense to them, they just couldn't. One girl I worked with, she was like 5 foot tall. There was no way she was picking that thing up. She literally looked like little Kim that we used to go to school with. That's,
Not the
Oh,
rapper.
that's
We,
so cute.
yeah,
The
we
rapper
had a
Loki.
friend called Look.
But so that's what we did. I give you all this backstory to tell you this. remember how I said that the pan had a hole in it?
Uh-oh.
Okay,
Oh,
so
God.
trash cans are made of like a polyvinyl, a hard plastic, but it's not completely impervious. And for years I thought, is this not going to be a problem that this leaks out onto these trash cans? One night, my friend Timmy was working with me, and the way our parking lot was set out is you walked out the back door. I could draw a new diagram if I need to, but you walk out the back door and you start to go across the parking lot. The parking lot is bisected in half with kind of like a topiary in the middle. You have this part where the customers usually park, and the back part is where the employees park. And in the back corner is where the fry thing is. Well, I'm walking out there, and so many people spilled the grease here because the parking lot was a bunch of sections of cement squares and they were offset, so if you didn't pay attention your wheel could get caught on one and it would flip it over and the grease would just explode all over the parking lot. So the amount of grease stains, because people would do it and they'd have to throw cat litter on it just to try to soak it up. Well, that's not what happened to me.
Oh God.
I was taking out the grease one night because this is years after I got put on the front, but they needed someone to do the vats one night, so I'm doing it. Timmy's out in his car just playing on his phone on his break, and he looks over at me, and I'm just kind of like, "Hey, what's up?" The entire time I'd been pushing it out, the grease had been leaking out more than normal out of the bottom of the pan and had pulled around the lid of the trash can, and I guess. I don't know what finally caused nature to take over, but it ate a perfect rim around the lid, and all of a sudden, the bottom just goes, and a geyser of grease just goes up in the air and explodes, and he's looking right at me like, and we're like, oh God, what do we do? Because this trash can's already it's already a big, giant, bulky trash can with wheels. The pan of grease is already over 50 pounds, and now it's wedged in the bottom of this trash can. We're like, how are we going to flip this thing over? So most of the grease didn't go in the parking lot, but we had no way of emptying it out. And then we took it off in the lid. It literally looked like someone had fired a cannonball through it. It was just like this big charred rim around the entire top.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
But that was one of my favorite moments. Just the visual of that. It kind of looked like a better scene rather than Breaking Bad. The scene in Nightmare on Elm Street when Johnny Depp gets sucked into the bed. That's what it looked like.
Oh, wow.
Oh man, that was so funny though. It sucked. The grease sucked so much.
Mine doesn't sound nearly as impressive as your story, but I do remember them emptying the grease traps and stuff like that frequently at Crystal. And
it stunk so bad.
you would think, well, maybe again you wouldn't think they were using a plastic pail at one point, so you can see where this is going. One night the pail just disintegrated into nothing, and the whole front was flooded with old grease.
Oh.
And I think I couldn't even tell you what I thought that night, but I remember being the person who would typically scrub the floor and mop, and I thought, oh farts, this is going to be the worst to clean up.
I'm putting in overtime this week.
Yeah, right.
I can't tell you the science behind why it happens, but a very important thing, and as working in grease, before you can drain a vat, you have to turn it off.
Oh, yeah.
We had just replaced the vats the day before, and we had a new guy, and he drained the vat and forgot to turn it off, and it burst into flames. And he was panicking on how to put it out. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to spray grease back into it to put it out. The oil goes back in. But people's first response is, oh God, let's go to the drink thing and get water and ice and throw into it.
That's even worse.
So, he was in his car like an hour later. He's like, oh God, I'm getting fired. He was so upset.
Better be glad he didn't burn the whole place down.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
there was the guy whose dad drove me to work that one winter. He became a shift leader. He was actually going up. Well, he started I think the same day I did, but he became a shift leader. And one day he was cleaning it, and he had emptied the first one, and you have to clean the edges. Well, he did, and his hand slipped and went submerged all the way in the elbow into the grease.
Mercy.
and had pulled his arm out and had to go to the hospital because he had like a burn all the way up to his elbow.
Yeah.
So bad.
I remember
Um,
getting burned once.
I got a couple of stories that just
Go for it.
reminded me.
We're past the
they're
ad,
really
so we
quick.
got another hour if we want.
They're really quick, but
Yeah.
it was when I was working at 7-Up, so that's not been too long ago.
Did you
And,
make 7-Up yours?
No. But you remember when Delta had the hacks and all the computer systems went down?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that affected us as well. So our company, or at least our drivers, some of them was started like midnight or like 1 o'clock in the morning, but most of us was started like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. All right, so we all show up and we're just like, well, we can't, download all our stuff. What do? I guess we just sit here. Well, the one guy that left at midnight, he was able to download his stuff because apparently the hack happened between then. So he went on his first stop, which is like an hour away. And then whenever he was trying to re-download stuff, it wouldn't work. Like nothing would work on his phone.
Mhm.
So we literally stayed there and this happened on I want to say like a Thursday or Friday. And no, it happened on a Friday because we had to come in Saturday when we don't work on Saturdays. But I was already like, because in that job you can't go over, I think, 60 hours. If you go over 60 hours, the company gets in trouble.
Yeah.
So they made sure that whatever it is, you made back here by 60 hours. And so I was already pushing up to that. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to stay here. So we stayed there from 4 o'clock in the morning until I think they finally let us go at like 11 or 11:30. So I was burning through all that time, not doing a damn thing.
Mm.
And then, I mean, there's, 10 or 12 drivers, just standing around twiddling their thumbs going, well, what the fuck we do now? Or what we do now? And so
Bit of parental advisory on this episode.
Right. Whoops.
So not our bosses, but our boss's boss. He was like, "Well, just have them go do something outside and pick up some crates." And these are like just regular crates, and you just put them on a pallet, and you just move them from the ones that are assorted to the ones that are not assorted. And literally everybody was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this so fast," and I got into my Stanley mode of thinking. I said, "Dude, we don't have to do this in a certain time. This is a run out the clock scenario." So I was sitting here and I was grabbing, waiting, looking. Oh, look, I dropped something on the ground. One. And everybody was like carrying. And then my boss looked at me and he goes, "Aren't you going to try?" And I go, "Heck no, I ain't going to try. This is the dumbest stuff that I've ever seen." So, like, literally, we burned through all that time. The next day, everybody else had to come in. I could only work 4 hours. So I just did my 4 hours and I went home. I said, screw them.
Mm-hmm.
They should have let me go a long time ago. And then you were talking about, when all the power went out and you guys couldn't do anything. We had a holiday at Ruby Tuesdays. Now that I can actually say the company. I think it was like a Thanksgiving or whatever. And we didn't have an entire customer for 4 hours.
Wow.
We sat in a booth and literally played poker the entire time. And then the manager came out and he goes, "Oh, are y'all still here?" He's like, "Yeah, you haven't made cuts yet." He's like, "All right, does anybody want to go home?" Every single one of us raised our hand. We were only getting paid $2.13 an hour. That's some stupid shit.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not getting tips, then it's
If you're not getting tips, serving sucks.
yeah. I've never had a job where I didn't get minimum wage at least, even though if I still got tips, we still had minimum wage. But,
Yeah.
I tried to get in with Viper when we were in college, and I swear to God, I think I had 3 interviews with him. for a waitress job. Oh, the waitress for a serving job.
There we go. Yeah.
I don't
I don't know.
know why it took
I was the
3.
only male server there for a long time,
I was
and
just
I
my
don't
mind was
understand
blown. Did Megan work with you there?
Megan.
Rockefeller.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I applied for a job at Weigel's once, and then I was like, I don't know why I didn't get it. And then I looked back later, and I'm like, probably because I told them in 3 months I was quitting.
Yeah, I did a similar
Yeah.
thing with Pizza Hut. I think it was right around the time I was graduating college, and I was like, well, I need all this and this and this, and I'm going to sub and I'm going to be a substitute, but I'd love to work for you, but only on these days. And they're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So,
that doesn't work really well.
No, not at all.
Well, that's about all the stories that I have.
I've got 2 more. Do you got any more, Doctor?
Nothing. I mean, if I reach deep into the bowels, I could find something riveting. But we keep hitting on, like, I know we're kind of hitting negative things, and we're trying to like spin it back to not so much. But I like the fact that the jobs I had put me where I am now and show me how grateful I am for the one I have now. And I know not a lot of people around can say that nowadays. I touched on Crystal and I touched on what my current job was, but I did actually have a little bit of time at Walmart, which at the time I thought was atrocious.
I forgot about Walmart.
I spent the summer at Walmart, and initially I was prone to say that was my worst job. But even with people arguing over things beyond my control, even with stuff like that, there were good moments. And then the one Viper and I had talked about quite a bit was I somehow landed in a job working in a kitchen in a nursing home, and the girlfriend I was dating at the time went and applied with me at the same time. And she was eventually an ex-girlfriend. The work by itself was demanding because you were in charge of a kitchen. I want to say there was about 170, maybe 170 residents, give or take, with different dietary restrictions. They can eat this and not that, or there's a religious thing where you can't do this and that. And it was hard work. It was meal prep. It was just about 3 hours of washing dishes.
Yeah, that sucked.
It took a toll. An hour and a half when you first get there, and then about 4 hours of prepping and serving the meal. I was typically an afternoon worker, so I would serve dinner. And then we would clean up the dishes on the way out the door, and then off we go. And occasionally work in a morning shift, but it was few and far between. The good things I did have after the ex-girlfriend moved on, and after getting through issues with just being there, I became a lot more grateful. I tried to look at it on like a silver side up kind of situation. I made friends with people I didn't think I would make friends with. I got along with several residents. I had time with my brother because he worked there, and I do regret not treating him better whenever we worked together, because I would older brother, I would give him shit all the time for every little thing. I would ride him so hard, but I do enjoy looking back, going, at least we were there together for a little while. And I left that, and I totally neglected this for some damn reason, but I worked at a music store in Knoxville for for almost 3 years before I landed my teaching gig. I really don't have any complaints about that one, but that was the one I worked retail more than anything. I had the occasional asshole who would complain about something minute that was beyond my control.
I would say that's different side of retail.
It's retail
just because of how specialty that store is. Like,
I get you.
You don't get the random person coming in off the street.
I mean,
looking
there's
for
always that
pinto
possibility.
beans and get mad at you because you don't have any pinto beans. You know what I'm saying? Like,
do not underestimate the clientele of Knoxville. Oh my God.
Oh no, I'm not.
True.
Trust me, I've seen every side of Knoxville that there is.
I got a story to tell you guys.
Oh, I mean, insert city here.
We've already said Knoxville. Fuck.
The one thing I have made a point not to do is tell any stories about the current job that I have. I'll tell you guys off of stream, but I've got one from today that is just
Okay.
one of the dumbest things I've ever experienced in my
All
life.
right. Bet.
But I have two more that I want to tell, just to touch on, some more of my jobs.
Do it.
So one I've never talked about before, I hardly considered a job. At the time, it was the highest paying job I'd ever had hourly. The problem is I only worked 1 hour a week sometimes. I was a tutor at UTK. And first year I was a tutor. Second year I was the head tutor of the music theory department. I was the lead tutor. I was in charge of everyone. What is funny about that? Tutor? What's funny about tutor?
Toot is fart. Yeah, it's a joke. I work with elementary school kids. This is low hanging fruit for me.
I think you are one.
I am.
Well,
what
anyway.
I eat. That was weird. Anyway,
There were two
Back up.
responsibilities as a tutor. One is you would go
You've
through
lost
a
the story, my man.
spreadsheet of the signups. If you were just a random tutor like me, you would get assigned your students. If you were the head, you got to distribute them. So my first year, I didn't get to distribute anyone. I was just told who I was, or you could volunteer for it. And I had some who needed help for like one day, just for like one lesson. I had some who wanted it for all. I had one. I ended up becoming his friend, but he drove me freaking crazy. If you're out there, you know who you are. He would literally say, okay, we're going to meet today. And I would sit on campus and wait for him for 5 hours, and he would never show up. And then later be like, yeah, sorry, I couldn't come. And he did that all year. And I'm
What
like,
a
I don't
load
know
of
if I ever
crap.
taught him like once. And it drove me crazy. Then I would stay there because like my classes would end at like 1 or 2, and I would stay there till like 7 o'clock at night. I didn't live on campus. I lived like 30 minutes away. But anyway, the other job that we had a lab. It was called the tutoring lab, and basically what it was is Tuesday and Thursday we'd have a rotation. Someone would fill in a time slot, and you would sit there from 6:30 to 7:30 as an open hour. You would sit there. You could do whatever you wanted. You could do homework. You could play on your computer, whatever. And if someone came by, they dropped in. It was like an office visit. If they came in, you could help them out, and you could do whatever. This is, I want to say, I was head tutor at the time. We are talking first week of May 2016. I'm sitting in there. I think I'm playing World of Warcraft. I might have been writing music at the time. I was doing something. I had done the lab for 2 years at this point, and I think I'd only ever had 2 people come in 2 years. No one took advantage of it. They didn't care. No one was on campus at 6:30 in the evening. No one cared. My friend is with me. She's over there drawing her cat on the whiteboard. Still got a picture of that cat she drew. Really good drawing, honestly. Pretty awesome. Anyway, some guy rolls in at 6:45 or something. This is the week before finals. Okay.
Nope, I've been there.
I need help with music theory. I don't really understand it. I'm like, okay, what do you understand? He goes like, I mean, I really don't know any of it. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, what do you
That
specifically
sounds
need
just
help
like
with?
me in accounting. I'm not gonna lie.
This guy did not understand chapter 1 of fundamentals. He was in fundamentals of music. He wasn't even a music major. He's like, I took fundamentals because I thought it'd make me play guitar better. He didn't.
Nope.
So I'm like, okay, let's break it down. Can you tell me the difference between a major and a minor scale? No. Can you tell me the difference between a treble and a bass clef? No. Can you read music? Kinda. And
Really?
I said, leave. I said, I'm not doing this. I'm like, you came in here the week before finals and you want me to teach you an entire year's worth of material in 1 hour. I'm like, no, I'm not even going to attempt this. There's no point in this. And the next day I'd messaged the head of the department. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, but I turned a guy away last night because he wanted me to do the entire course load. And she goes, oh, no, don't worry about that. But I was like, that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
Wow, that's so funny.
And my friend was sitting there like, this dumb mother effer. Like, she saw the whole thing. She's like, this is stupid. But my other story I wanted to end on was some more insight into the post office. When I worked there, it was a seasonal job, and it was 2 months. It was 8 weeks of work. We started like right before Thanksgiving, and we ended in New Year's. And the way it was kind of worked is you had like the lower supervisors and the upper supervisors. So the upper supervisors would tell the lower supervisors what to tell the temps to do. And my first night there, I worked in this little thing called what they called hot mail. And what you would do is, I've mentioned it on here before, it was a giant section of the plant with all these metal bins, and they all had names of cities and zip codes on them. So this one said Alcoa 37701. This one said Andersonville 37705. And you had to basically go to a giant bin that they would bring in with packages, and you had to pick it out and move it to the right one. So you'd have a bin with assorted things, take it, put it, sort it out. Everyone just did that for hours. 12 hours of doing that. People started doing trick shots. I saw one guy literally jumped up there and went Kobe like that and shot it.
Kobe.
And I'm like, that's why your crap is destroyed, by the way. When your jewel cases look like someone just stepped on them, that's why. But it was usually bigger packages because they had this thing. It literally just measured your packages, and if it was big enough to not go on the conveyor belt, they would put it in the hot mail. If it was small enough, they put it in this thing called SPIBs, which is small parcel and bundle sorter. And it was a giant conveyor belt where it would dump it off in like a dumpster onto a belt, and then you would literally sit there with a rake and just scrape it out and then push it on the belt. But you had to put so much of it or else you'd break the belt. Well, every night you would report, you would go to your lower supervisor, and they would tell you what machine you were working on that night. You'd either go to Hotmail, you go to SPIBS 1, you go to SPIBS 2, or you would go to, it was probably the only 3 that temps ever did. Sometimes you'd be moving stuff with pallet jacks, but most of the time it was one of those 3. Or there's a 4th one, magazines. So there was a bin where you'd sit on this little cushion, and this conveyor belt would come through with giant bundles, and you would basically just cut the things of magazines off and throw them in the thing, and it would just go. It was the most boring one of them all, but you got to sit down at least. Well, one night, the lower supervisor says, "Hey, I need you to go work on magazines." I'm like, "Okay." So it was the first night ever there I did it. Walk over and sit down. Maybe 5 minutes later, this gray-haired woman who I'd never met walks over. She goes, "Hi, what's your name?" And she had like this, I'm not going to do the accent. She had like a very thick Brooklyn accent. And I'm like, "It's Robert." And she goes, "Okay, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Who told you could work over here?" And I'm like, "The lower supervisor." She goes, "Okay, well, from now on, you come to me before you do anything in here, and I'll tell you where you can work at." And I was like, "Okay." And then she just walked off, and then I asked my aunt about it, because my aunt and uncle worked there at the time before they retired. And like, "Oh yeah, everyone hates her." Like the entire plant knew this woman and despised her.
Oh, see, that would have not went well with me. I don't
Oh,
know.
it
If
was-
I ever would have tore her a new bone.
It was bad. Well, there was this old guy, he worked there, and I loved him. He was so cool. This guy, he worked over in this one other area that I forgot what it was called, and I worked there occasionally. I worked with him, and I got to know him. I don't even know what his name was to this day. Everyone just called him Whip. And he was this old cool guy. He had been there so long. He was like a retire. I think he was past retirement, but he only took off. I think they said 6 days a year. His birthday, his wife's birthday, their anniversary, and like 3 days to go to Bristol to see for the Speedway. They would take like a camper, and that's the only days he took off all year. But he basically told her to go F herself. Anytime she came around, he's like, "Yeah, I'll do what I want to do." He just gave her
that's
the
kind of
one
what
foot.
I would,
He was
more
awesome.
or less.
But he was great. But I say all that because I never interacted with all the upper supervisors. But when I worked there, I've told this story before. I think about the 4th week there, I came home at 3 a.m. after eating my pilot roller dogs. And
Roller dog.
I get to my house, and my mom's waiting up for me. And this is at 4 a.m. I'm like, my mom usually was getting up at 4:30 to get ready for work anyways. But she was there, and she just like, I'm like, "Something's wrong." And she goes, "Your dad has cancer." And I didn't register at the time because I had never in my life known anyone who had cancer. And I knew cancer was a bad thing. 25, cancer is a bad thing by that point. But it didn't really register. I was like, "Oh, God. Huh." What I didn't realize is my dad was going to live for 2 more weeks. I didn't know it was that severe. So I'm over here. I'm all optimistic. I'm like, "Oh, he'll get better. It's going to be okay. I'll go see him. We'll have fun. We'll go fishing come spring. We haven't done it in years. We'll go do it one last time." So it starts getting bad. I watch him devolve. December 21st, I go into work, and I'm working over in the hot mail section. And it was at 3 o'clock, and I'd been there. My aunt and uncle were working that night. And then my uncle comes over and grabs me and says, "We're leaving." I'm like, "Oh God, what happened?" And apparently my dad had like gone like catatonic at that point. I don't know if it was the medicine they put him on, but he was basically just, his eyes were like glued open and he was staring at the ceiling, and like every few seconds he would just gasp for air, and no one knew what was happening. They thought he was dying. So everyone starts coming to the house and making their rounds that night to say goodbye to him. And I'm devastated. I'm in a mess that night. But then at some point in the night, he kind of came around again. He like woke up and started speaking, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe he's gonna be okay after all. And then the next day, I didn't go to work because I was scared. And let me rephrase this: we were told as temps, you don't miss work. Period. You don't get to stay out. If you call in sick, you're fired. You're done. Because you're here for 8 weeks. You're here to work. You're done. But I guess there was an exception to that for sickness. And I actually had a temp girl that I worked with. Her dad actually died like the same week mine did. And she never came back. I did come back for 2 weeks after he died. I took a week off and then came back. So I was out like week 6, and I worked 7 and 8 and finished. But anyway, December 22nd, I was off work, hanging out with him, making sure he was okay. And then I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on anymore. That night I left, I think I went back to work. Yeah, I went back to work the 22nd that night, and he was okay. And I left work that night and went to Taco Bell, and got, remember when they had the sangria splash flavor?
No.
It was a special flavor they had. It was called the Sangria Splash. My cousin loved it. So I went and bought 2 32-ounce cups with no ice and took them home and put them in the fridge for us. And then the next day I woke up, and that might have been a few days before, because I don't remember doing that the night before. My stories. Anyway, forget it. The 23rd. That was the night that I went. I was hanging out with him, and my mom was like, "Your dad's going to be okay. He's doing a little better. You need to go back to work tonight." And I was like, okay. So she takes me to work because my car was still there. So yeah, 22nd was not the sangria night. My car was still at the post office because I had to leave it there because my uncle rushed me out. My aunt and uncle were off this time. They weren't working with me this night. Well, I'm constantly texting my cousin Blake. I'm like, hey, any updates on Dad? He's like, yeah, he's okay. He's still doing it. And at some point around, I think like 5 or 6, I'm working in Hotmail again. And I'm like, hey, where's Dad? Is Dad okay? And he stopped answering me. And I was like, oh, I'm scared now. So I tried texting my aunt. No answer. No one would answer me. And at this point, they moved me over to Spibs, and I'm over there working, and I'm just listening to music, and I start getting a really bad feeling. I'm like, I think something's happened. And I'm just listening to music, and all of a sudden, I look up and turn around, and I see my uncle, who was off that night. He was walking towards me, and I'm like, Dad's dead. He wouldn't be here otherwise. And he comes over, and he goes, come with me, we're leaving. And I was like, I didn't say anything, I just knew. But the reason I said all of this is just because this for some reason sticks in my mind. One of the upper supervisors, there was 2. There was one, that woman who was really hateful to us, but another one, he was this tall, older, thin black man named Carl, and I never heard him speak a word the entire time I worked there. He always had this look on his face. But like I said, my aunt and uncle had worked there for years. They retired from there. And we weren't supposed to leave, we didn't get off, we're temps, we're nothing. But I just remember my uncle, I'm walking right behind my uncle with my cousin Blake, and Carl's just standing there, stoic as always, and he goes, Carl, we're leaving. And Carl just goes, and just nods one time. And we walked past, and I'm like, you're real, Carl. But I'll always remember Carl's face. Didn't
the
smile,
Kamari. He's the Kamari.
just one half nod. I was like, oh, I love you, Carl.
The nod of approval. It's those little things, man.
It was a night.
It really is.
And that was the night that I went home and I said my goodbyes to Dad. I had to watch them take him out of the house. But then I sat on the couch. I had already 2 nights before had kind of already gotten it all out. I was done at that point. You can only say goodbye so many times. But then I sat down on the couch and I found a little game called Stardew Valley, and that got me through some times.
Chef's kiss.
Until the Xbox One update or issue happened where your save data was bricked for like 2 months and you couldn't play it. Oh, that was hard. I was like, I need my fix.
Viper, have you picked it up since you said you started it?
I think I'm a couple of days in. Not much.
Are you still in spring?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will go ahead and say
I think I had to reset it because I didn't know what to do.
December
Huh.
23rd of this year. I am going to go ahead and make plans right now. I'm going to do a Stardew stream because it will be 10 years since the night my dad died and since I started that game. So I'm gonna dedicate that night. So don't know even know what day of the week that'll be, but I'll be streaming that day regardless.
What day is it?
December 23rd.
December 23rd.
Mm.
Excuse me. Christmas Eve or
Yep, it's a
Adam.
Wednesday.
Adam. Yes.
It's a
yes.
Wednesday, my dude.
Bruh.
Bruh.
But
All
that
right.
was a downer note. Let me hopefully I have a funny story.
Carl brought it out of
Nah,
the.
you're good.
Carl
brought it
came
out.
in. Man.
Carl.
Yeah, Carl came in clutch, man.
Love
So,
Carl.
Yeah.
You guys got
Carl.
anything to plug? Anything that's going on?
I'm starting
in the
Sly
near
3
future?
tomorrow. Finally, that's why there's a little raccoon behind me.
Starting Sly 3. Nice.
Finally, and it's been forever in the process, but
What about you, Doc?
Um.
Anything you got
Oh.
going on?
I don't stream anymore. I just don't. I need
Just
to pick
do
something
it,
up.
man.
I'm still
Just
in my
do
little
it.
existential crisis.
Anything you're playing offline that you're having
I beat
fun with?
Silent Hill F, and I was kind of shocked I beat it so quickly.
Okay.
I still need to go through.
You
and
ready
play
for
play
Requiem
it
to
again.
come out?
I'm working. I don't know what I am yet, but I'm going to make sure I get it on day one. All my personal days are taken up.
I
so
don't
I'll
know
just
if
make
I'm
sure
gonna get it on day one, but I feel like I'm definitely gonna pick it up. I'm probably gonna see a couple playthroughs of it on here because I
Yeah.
guarantee you somebody's gonna be playing it.
I think I'm gonna
Actually, that
pre-order it,
wouldn't
but
be a
I'm not gonna
bad
stream
thing.
it.
I just when I ran into Kingdom Hearts, that was my issue I had. If it was a first time thing, I want to focus on the game and not focus on talking to people. So I think that was part of my issue.
I'm not streaming Requiem because I've never streamed a game in the series, and I'm not going to try to squeeze them all in before I do it. I'm just going to play it and have fun with it.
I think that's where I'm at. I'm eventually gonna pick it up, but I don't think it'll be day one.
Yeah,
because of money. But anyways, what I have coming up is tomorrow I'm going
Are you
to
doing
try
intermission?
to yes.
Sweet.
I guess is what it's called.
Intermission.
The DLC for remake, whatever it's called. Hopefully that'll be a one stream and then going to Crisis Core the week after. Sunday I'm not streaming, but I do have a 2-year streaming anniversary coming up next month. So I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing. I've started getting a poster together. Still got to do a little bit of work on it, but yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Cool.
I am playing Go to Daddy Daughter Dance with my daughter tomorrow night, so I won't be on stream. Yay! And I won't be here next week because we will be at a family friend's birthday party, and it's my birthday weekend, so I will be out of pocket. So it'll be these two fine gentlemen running the show, and they're going to be take care of business. TCB, like always.
TCB.
Taking care of business.
Yogurt.
All right. Let's see. You still want to rate out?
We can. Everything fell apart. Is anyone here? I don't know.
No,
it all kind of crashed. We could just end it here tonight if we need to. It's cool. It's already like 11:30.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go try to break this computer some more and figure out what's wrong. I know what happened on the stream. This was actually not my computer issue this time. This was the collab cam has this thing where if you mess with it during a stream, it'll freeze everything up. And when you guys got booted, I tried to put it back, and you guys got flipped. And when I tried to reassign the cameras, it crashed the whole program. So awesome, right, great stuff. We have got to figure out Video Ninja. So
yeah, because that way anybody can do it. And
been saying it for 5 months. Got to do it. Anyway, okay. Well, we'll just head out tonight. No raid out this time, but we will be back. Go watch Viper play intermission tomorrow. It's really fun.
Watch Alden do the things and don't watch me.
You don't have to. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. I ain't nothing. But yeah, we're gonna head out. I'm gonna go try to break my computer and just chill out. I already drank a Monster for some reason. Didn't need to. Should just went to bed, but
It is what it is.
all right.
Not of approval.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week, and
See you guys.
have a great week.
We'll see Dr. J in 2 weeks.
Ooses, deuces. Or
He's
deuces,
frozen
ooses.
on screen.
Okay.
All right. See you guys. Hope you have a good
All
night.
right.
See you next week.
See you guys.